this young lady, Sarah Z, she's dealing with the problem that J.K. Rowling is turned out to be a TERF, and she's being very transphobic. And I like to point out, as you know, to this young woman, as a Lovecraft fan, Lovecraft being a man with a mainly male audience, I mean, all he has is his fans to defend him. Everybody else dogpiles him. It's open season on men, and has been for a while. But you're up against a different kettle of fish, Sarah. You've got J.K. Rowling here. She has female privilege. She's a female, and her audience is probably a 50-50. There are a lot of young girls who love her work. And she's not going to be, that's why she'll get videos where she gets a question mark. Does J.K. Rowling's transphobia ruin Harry Potter? Well, you see, with Lovecraft, there's no question. He's just a racist, and they went and they got his face removed from his own trophy award. But J.K. Rowling, she gets a question mark, even from you.
Mutual aid funds, if there was ever a time to use a large following responsibly, it's now. Especially if a whole generation of young adults grew up with your work and find solace in the world you've created, showing them you're there for them and support their rights can easily help provide the comfort a lot of folks have been looking for. And during this time of struggle and inequality, and also Pride Month, children's author J.K. Rowling has bravely decided to use her platform to complain about trans people on Twitter. Cool.
That's right. She's a TERF. And what are you going to do about it? Now, we're going to hear more from you. I actually like your video. But I mean, like I say, I'm putting my 2 cents worth it. You're going to have to juggle back and forth, because I assure you, I doubt anything's going to happen to J.K. Rowling unless the intersectional feminist, other women, bring her down. If J.K. Rowling, Sarah Z, if she was attacking a male group, a entirely male group, you would not be making this video. You would be saying, go girl, get those guys. But because she's attacking a group that is protected by other women, intersectional feminist, now she's in the wrong.
It's been known for a while that J.K. Rowling is, how do I put this delicately, a washed-up reactionary transphobe, though in the past she'd been pretty fond of covering it up with plausible deniability. I mean, she initially liked a series of tweets by a prominent trans-exclusionary radical feminist, or TERF, essentially expressing issues with trans people and implying that the ability to legally self-identify as your gender is bad. She liked a few of these.
Of course she is. Well, for one thing, she's a millionaire multiple times over, Sarah. You know, she's written her book. She's not going to come out with anything as good as she's done. Her career is in the past. So she has nothing to lose by being honest now. And what she has a problem is men gaining female privilege. That's what it is. You know, what can I say? This is the issue with TERFs. They see trans women as carpetbaggers. And if you'll be honest with yourself, young lady, trans men are invisible to people. People do not care about, they're indifferent at worst. This is an issue about trans women. That is, it's an issue about men being attacked by women at large. Even guys who are attacked in bathrooms by other men is at the behest of woman worship. So that's about what this is going on here.
kids book with this weird paragraph in the middle of it. It was copied and pasted from a years old article about a trans woman named Tara Wolf who punched a cis woman and had to pay some court fees after the cis woman started kicking and grabbing at Tara's girlfriend. Notably, this is a pretty old case by now, and the article Rowling had quoted from repeatedly referred to Tara Wolf as he, which once again made people suspicious as to why she even had that paragraph copied to send to someone in the first place.
Yeah, you see, this is the issue, right? This guy trans to a woman, and then he got to punch a woman in the face and say, we're both girls now. He's got female privilege. You know, if you're a trans woman and you sock a woman in the face, a bunch of white knights aren't going to show up and pound on you for her. You know, he's the equivalent to the cis woman, and this is the issue, Sarah Z. This is the issue that brave J.K. Rowling has. TERFs understand. And here's another thing: these intersectional feminists who back, you know, trans people, they are not as good as you think, for lack of a better term. The only reason they don't turn on trans women like J.K. Rowling, like the TERFs, is because they get to use these women usually to attack other men. In other words, they back trans women when, let's say, they can pass well enough for a woman, and some guy comes on to her, and then he finds out the hard way that she has male body parts. Then he goes berserk and punches her, assaults her. Now, you see, that can be used against the male population. They can say, oh, look how violent men are. If you all just converted into the lovely females, you would transcend all this. And that's why intersectional feminists, Sarah Z, that's why they back trans women. But now they're stuck because they want that shield. And so now they have to allow these trans women to go into bathrooms with you girls, which I don't have an issue at all. I have no dog in the race. But you see, intersectional feminists would be against that if they weren't also using trans women. Okay?
On June 10th, she comes out with this manifesto where she makes all these truly bizarre points about how trans women are dangerous in locker rooms, and I mean, it's rough and embarrassing for her. I mean, she has one of the biggest platforms in the world and thus
I don't know how embarrassing it is for her, because saying trans women, that's what it is, not trans people, trans women, are dangerous in locker rooms is no different than the typical feminist, and that includes the intersectional feminist, who say men are dangerous to women. I mean, it's a bold-faced lie, of course. What it is trans women are disgusting to women. That's what's going on. Sarah Z, that guy on the bus, that Los guy who's homely and has no, he's awkward. The average woman in the riding on the bus with him is thinking, man, I wouldn't touch that guy with a 10-foot pole. I wish he'd get off the bus. So what do you think is going to be the attitude when this guy ends up being someone who decides he's a woman and he wants to trans, but he started his transition too late and he doesn't pose as a woman well? And all of a sudden, he's coming into that woman's bathroom. That woman who didn't like him on the bus, all of a sudden, he's in the next stall to her. You see, it's not, the disgust would go through the roof. You know, and this is the problem, is that the word fear is shoved in for disgust to hide how women actually feel about the male sex. And it's to shield them from their own feelings. They don't want to be seen as the bad guys. Girls do not want to be exposed for their actual feelings towards the male sex. And that's what's going on here.
mean, she has one of the biggest platforms in the world and thus access to some of the best resources for learning about what trans people actually think and believe, and yet it's full of outright lies and misinformation, like chock full. So that's where we are now.
Of course. Look, it's no different than the alt-righters. The alt-righters, they have all kinds of resources to find out that their hateful ideology is not necessary and is harmful. But they're a hate movement. They're a hate group. So of course it doesn't matter. And J.K. Rowling is no different, Sarah. She hates the opposite sex, and it just happens to come out when it comes to trans women. And you have to deal with that now. It doesn't matter. This isn't a case of being misinformed. The Nazis weren't misinformed. The alt-right isn't misinformed. And feminists are not misinformed.
Where we are now, and understandably, a lot of people are hurt by this. I mean, her books and the world inside them really did shape a lot of people's childhoods. People grew up with them and were often the same age as the characters when the books or the movies came out. Finding out the author to something you like has some really terrible beliefs hurts. And I've especially seen a lot of trans people I care about feeling really upset and frustrated that not only does someone who was such a big part of their childhoods feel that way, but also that she's using her platform right now to talk about this of all things. And then there's...
Well, there you go. Now you're at a crossroads. You have to make a choice, young woman. And all you fans, because unlike Lovecraft is dead and gone. You know, he can't, and he's never really had any political clout or tried to do anything. J.K. Rowling, by the way, is a step beyond that. She works as a TERF to fight against trans, women's rights. And she has a lot of clout. She's exercising it. So what are you going to do about it?
And then there's also this sentiment that I've seen crop up in an attempt to reconcile these feelings that usually goes something like Hatsune Miku wrote Harry Potter, or Harry Potter belongs solely to fans now, or Harry Potter is authorless. It's essentially this repeat of the popular old argument of can we truly separate the art from the artist? A lot of people really do love these stories and either don't want to reconcile that the person creating them sucks or simply want to reclaim it from its harmful origins. And as someone who...
And you know something? I can separate the two of them. I enjoy Lovecraft's work. And actually, he wasn't that bad of a guy. Whereas Rawlings is a hate-filled person. So, I mean, this is a whole other level you have to deal with. And basically, no, I don't think, this is my opinion, that the fans can own his stuff. And, a fanfic work is not Lovecraft, and fanfic work will not be J.K. Rowling.
Then she talks about how she's spoken to trans people and read literature and is very educated on the subject, and how you couldn't possibly argue that she's misinformed because she very much knows what she's talking about. Real talk, I think this makes her look worse. I mean, let's say she was just misinformed. This still isn't great. Like, it's already bad enough that someone with such a massive platform doesn't do their due diligence in properly looking into things before making inflammatory tweets. She has the equivalent of the entire population of Istanbul following her. Look into the court case you're tweeting about before sharing it to all of Istanbul.
Again, she has real political clout. And you're going to have to deal with the fact that this hateful person over here can exercise that clout.
One Salt Lake City following me, and I'd feel terrible if I misinformed all those Mormons to a similar scale. But her insistence that she's done her research and educated herself on trans issues before tweeting this means she's not just misinformed about this case. By her own admission, she's lying on purpose. That is so much worse. And then she
Wow. An alt-righter, oh, sorry, I mean a feminist lies. Wow. For an agenda. And the agenda is hate. What are the odds, Sarah Z?
recourse women who have been assaulted have currently is evidence enough of the fact that many men do this in the open anyway. Given the seriously elevated
Men do not assault women in the open. It's rare that you'll find a man assaulting a woman.
risk trans women have of being assaulted, both by men and by cis women who.
Okay. Transgender woman gets beaten up by a guy. Of course, it's a trans woman. Let's see.
Film them in public bathrooms and yell at them for existing. The idea that anyone who isn't trans would.
Trans teenager. Let's see. Left with severe concussion and boot marks on her head. In other words, a trans woman again, after being assaulted by a girl this time. She tried to go to the school changing room. You see, Sarah, what's going on here? You both cases are trans women, right? No one gives a shit that trans men go into men's bathrooms. Why? Don't you see the difference? Both men and women want to keep men in their old defunct gender roles. You know, they see these girls, these trans women, as carpetbaggers again. You know, they're jumping into female privilege and they're there to stop them. You know your place, black man, is what they're saying. The drinking fountain for you is on the other side of the building. That's what's going on here. And Sarah Z, I don't think I need to go through all your video. I like your video, and I'm going to put it in my description box so people can watch it. But this is the 2 cents I have to bring. And this is the point I want to make. You're going to have to deal with your hero here being a disgusting hate monger in a way that Lovecraft never was. But because she's a female and she has female fans, she can do and has done a lot worse than Lovecraft ever has. And she's going to be giving a lot more rope. You're going to have a tough time dealing with this. So all I can do is wish you luck. Thank you, Sarah Z.